All right. So I was actually tempted to make you guys present, since this was our last session, just for vibes. Just, one last time. But yeah, it's fine. Okay, so this is where we ended off in our previous session. Did I hit the button record? Let's see. Did I? Okay, there we go. Okay, so it is recording. Right. So methodology for identifying appropriate knowledge management solutions. Okay. They include 7 steps. They include 7 steps. So firstly, assess the contingency factors. Assess what is the environment that this business operates in, right? What are the type of tasks that we are talking about, And then you go on to say, identify the knowledge management processes based on each contingency factor. Prioritize the needed knowledge management processes. Identify the existing knowledge management processes, if any, because maybe the business is not even practicing that. Then identify the additional needed knowledge management processes. So obviously they are not doing, there's room for improvement, basically. Okay. Then assess the knowledge management infrastructure, very important, and identify the subsequential ordering of knowledge management processes. Then finally, develop additional needed knowledge management systems, mechanisms, and technologies. Okay. And that is your 7 steps to identifying the appropriate knowledge management solution. Now, the next few slides, they're now just breaking this down into what you're actually doing in each step, but you guys can go over that. Step number 2, you can see there. Okay. Number 3, number 4 and 5, number 6. Okay, and then again, recap. Okay. So you guys must know those 7 steps. You must be able to speak to those 7 steps. And then I'm sure you should be fine. Now this, I don't know if it's the last aspect, but now they're speaking to leadership and assessment of knowledge management. Must I separate you two? I'm just hearing voices from that section. So I must remove them from you so you can focus. Okay, right. Don't worry, guys. We're almost done. Almost done. Stay with me here. So, leadership of knowledge management. Okay. The chief executive officer and the executive board have a direct impact on how the organization views knowledge management. Right. This thing has to come from all the way at the top. All right. Otherwise, it's going to be viewed as something that your senior management is interested in, but it's not that important. But if it's coming from your CEO or your top guys, then it's something that's going to be conducted by your supervising managers and so on and so on. So here they even say also, if knowledge management does not permeate all levels of the organization, beginning at the top, it is unlikely that knowledge management programs will ever catch on or be effective. In summary, the role of the CEO is critical to the success of knowledge management in the organization. First, to articulate a grand theory of the organization's vision for knowledge management. Second, to incorporate this vision into the organization's objectives. Third, to identify which knowledge management initiatives support that strategy. And again, your knowledge management solution must be incorporated into the business activities. It mustn't be two separate existing things. It must be something that is smoothly integrated into your day-to-day activities of the business. So here, the CEO designates the leadership of the knowledge management function to another senior executive who could be the chief knowledge officer, chief learning officer, and in some cases, the chief information officer. And then here they're just speaking a little bit to those different roles. But the key thing we want to take away from the slide is that which is in red. Organizations that recognize the importance of knowledge management as a critical function that goes beyond either information management or human resource development appoint a chief knowledge officer, okay? And charge that individual with the management of the organization's intellectual assets and knowledge management processes, systems, and technologies. Okay? So here now they're speaking to critical success factors for your chief knowledge officer to achieve knowledge management goals. Having a high level of supervision that goes beyond the CEO support. Okay? So you have to supervise your guys to ensure that they're obviously doing the things that need to be done in relation to knowledge management. Implementing knowledge sharing initiatives, all right? Encouraging people, all right, to actually share knowledge. Then, or even having those socialization activities, brainstorming, bringing in the different functions of the business, breaking knowledge bottlenecks that stop the flow of knowledge. Hey, in business, there are so many bottlenecks. In different organizations, there are so many bottlenecks, okay? Sometimes it's just the thing of everyone needs to sign off on something before it can go. Organizational slack time to think, dream, talk, and sell. I think here is to organizational lack. Organizations, I don't know what they're trying to say here. Creating reference projects that demonstrate the value of knowledge management. If we don't see the value of what we are doing, we're not going to do it. So you need to constantly remind staff, this is why we do these knowledge management activities. This is why we need to be engaged in knowledge discovery. This is why we need to be sharing knowledge. All right? Then documenting visible successes for their own performance. Okay? So when they see how it has successfully enabled them to perform better, for example, they will then say, no, there's value in this process. I need to obviously engage with this knowledge management activities and so on and so forth. The above can also be regarded as challenges if not met or not successful. Yeah, it's not easy. It's easier said than done. But I think now more than ever, people are realizing the importance of data. And so, yeah, I just need someone who has the time and is willing to spearhead it. But yeah. So here, importance of knowledge management assessment. Guys, when it comes to any task, activity that is of importance, if you are not doing assessments, in other words, if you're not checking performance versus the desired objectives, then you're not being efficient. Because whenever you set goals, you have to say, have we achieved what we set out to do? And if not, where did we fall short? What needs to be improved? So that's all we're really speaking to. But now we're speaking to that from a knowledge management perspective. Okay, efforts are enabling the organization or the individual to achieve underlying objectives. Without such assessment, it would be impossible to determine either the contribution of these efforts, in other words, these efforts, the contributions, what we have done, right? Has it been of any use? All right. Has it been of any use? Or we need to be doing something totally different entirely. Okay. Knowledge management is aimed at, knowledge management assessment is aimed at evaluating the need for knowledge management solutions. These solutions can help discover, capture, share, or apply, and the impact they will have on individual or organizational performance. Okay, so that's all that we are speaking today. So here now they're just giving some points on the importance of assessments. Firstly, knowledge management assessment helps identify the contributions being currently made. All right. It enhances the understanding of the quality of effort, put into knowledge management and intellectual capital produced from these efforts. Helps understand if the costs of knowledge management efforts are justified. If something is not working, then the cost is not justified. Does that make sense? But you will not know if something is working or not if you are not assessing it. Okay, then helps recognize the gaps that need to be addressed, okay, in the knowledge management efforts. Can help in making a business case for additional investment into knowledge management. Hey, when you do reports and presentations in business, your bosses don't want to know how you feel, what you think. They want to see the facts. And then, after facts, then you provide recommendations. Otherwise, you could be telling us anything and everything based on how you woke up that morning. Does that make sense? So, it's imperative that we obviously assess. And then, when relating to assessments, we also need to consider the following. When are we going to do knowledge management assessments? How are we going to do those assessments? And then what aspects of the knowledge management are assessed. So it's not like we're just doing anything and everything. We need to assess certain aspects, okay? Right, so these things you can go read on. The timing of knowledge management assessments. Then here the nature. Right? How are we doing these knowledge management assessments? Is it qualitative or quantitative? I know you guys are all researchers, so you guys know what the hell is qualitative, quantitative. Smart bunch. Yes. Okay. Then type of knowledge management assessments. 3 possible ways of considering alternative knowledge management assessments. Okay, you guys can go read on this. Okay, assessment of knowledge management solution involves evaluating the extent to which knowledge discovery, capture, sharing, application processes are utilized and how well they have they are supported by knowledge management technologies and systems. Okay, so when you're talking about the assessment of the knowledge management solutions, that's what you'll be looking at. And I'm sure you guys are well aware those are your key factors when it comes to your knowledge management as a whole. Okay, so you guys can requires the following. So yeah, maybe let me just actually assessment of knowledge. An assessment of knowledge requires the following. Number 1, identification of various areas of knowledge that are relevant to the organization or a specific subunit, critical success factors. Then B, an evaluation of the extent to which knowledge in each of these areas is available. An assessment of the value each area of the knowledge contributes to the organization. Right. Assessment of impacts. Okay, you guys can go through this. You can see it pertains to your employees, your processes, your products, organizational performance. Okay, and you can see there's a table for each one. So guys, be ready to speak to those tables there in your exam. Okay. Yes. Remember, I sent you guys what you call this? A screenshot. Yes, that I got from the assessment center. So you allowed your textbook and your electronic textbook. because not everybody has the hard copy. Outside of that, I'm recording, I can't say too much, but remind me, I'll share what I wanted to say after. Yeah. Okay, so here now. Okay, so I think these are actually the tables that they were referring to on the previous slide, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, who performs knowledge management assessment? Okay, so here you can really see that this assessment story when it comes to knowledge management is quite comprehensive. So you want to make sure that you are up to speed with this aspect in Learning Unit 5. Then here, overall approach to knowledge management assessment, you've got benchmarking, and then you've got the Scandia navigator. Okay, and then now they break that down, you know, and then they further break that down to say, you know, the intangible assets monitor framework, all right, in relation to benchmarking. Then the other one, they're saying evaluate the organization in terms of knowledge management maturity. 5 stages of maturity. Okay. Just quite a lot to get through here, but fortunately you guys are doing an open book, so that does help. But I would really strongly recommend, guys, make sure that you go over the content, go through the content, such that when they start speaking to certain aspects, you can very quickly double check, okay, is this the thing they're speaking to? That way, if you are reading something for the first time in the exam, I fear for you. Fear for you. And there's a chance I might see you again.
But there's some questions they don't need the textbook. That's another problem.
Some questions they don't?
Some questions that you can't find the information in the textbook. For
Really?
example, one of the questions they would not in the textbook. Let's research. I think it was 1.5.
Was the one when they wanted like the troubles or something?
I don't know.
I remember the first was about the financial services in the area.
Yeah.
That's what most people are about. But that requires
Application.
I think it was the one before. Remember they asked us like the consequences or something? Issues.
Issues of what?
It wasn't in the. I couldn't find that in the textbook. I had to use your studies.
Okay. So maybe as you guys just look at that, maybe let me just finish off the slides and we'll discuss that. But yeah, you can check up on that. Recommendations of knowledge management assessments, okay? So remember why you are doing knowledge management. Establish baseline, okay, in terms of your assessment. Consider qualitative methods, okay? Then keep it simple, okay? It also helps those who are actually engaging in the knowledge management activities. If you tell me you're going to be judged or assessed based on how much knowledge you share, right? How many times you upload something where you're sharing content. It's easy for me. It's like, okay, I know I can at least do it twice, okay, and every quarter. So keep it simple. If you start complicating it and I'm not able to understand it, then it's hard for me to make sure that I achieve the requirements in order to be assessed well. Okay. Then avoid knowledge management metrics that are hard to control. Measure the appropriate level. Link rewards to knowledge management assessment results. Always incentivize people where you can, and you obviously get the behavior that you want. Be conservative in terms of your claims. Okay, so here's a recap of what is important. Guys, I promise you, follow these recaps, you will be well think you will at least have covered 90% of the stuff. Because now we're learning that they ask things well on the school. So, yeah. Okay, so here using knowledge management as a decision-making tool. This is the last thing. I think it's maybe 2 or 3 slides. Knowledge systems have successfully supported solving semi-structured problems. Okay, so here I think they're giving examples and stuff. But the whole point of this, and it's something that I've been emphasizing from the beginning, all of these things that we're doing, knowledge management tools, technology, systems, you know, discovery, capturing, all of it is so that we can get knowledge, right? And we know knowledge is coming from information. You know, data is what has to be processed in order to give us information. This I think was also in your assignment. All of what we are doing pertaining to knowledge management and the initiative of it is so that we can make decisions based off of the information provided, which we then turn into knowledge. Okay. So this is the end goal of knowledge management, to equip us to make wise, good, strategic decisions. And here, promoting knowledge sharing while protecting intellectual property. Yes, we obviously have to share this knowledge, otherwise it's going to be sitting with certain individuals and not permeate throughout the whole organization and help us to, as an organization, become more competitive, all right, and obviously improve. But we also need to protect this knowledge, okay? And that's all that they're speaking to there, right? For one, when it comes to knowledge discovery, we need to protect our intellectual property, all right? We need to also protect our know-how as a business and so on and so forth. So whilst ensuring that we can share it, we obviously need to ensure that we're also protecting it. Then here, IP losses can happen in many ways. Employee turnover, people leaving, physical theft, disclosure to third parties, all right, and the list goes on and on. Okay, then here, steps companies can take to protect their organization against IP losses, non-disclosure agreements, patents, copyrights, trade secrets.
So should you know the definition and just in the
I think you should be able to speak to them. So we're not looking for word definitions, but I think concepts like trade secrets, patents, you guys can, even without going and looking at the text, you can obviously explain those concepts. But do have a look at it so that you are obviously explaining it within the context of knowledge management. Otherwise, you won't get as many marks as you probably should. Right? Then here, involving internal and external knowledge creators. Okay, so this is something you guys can go and read on. And finally, addressing barriers to knowledge sharing and creation. Privacy concerns. We spoke about this before, where individuals feel like I'm going to be exposing myself and that might cost me, or there might be certain key information I'm just sensitive about and I don't want to share. Okay. Then concerns related to knowledge as power. Okay. So if I have the knowledge, it obviously puts me at an advantage. And if I share that knowledge with you, then you become a competition. And I might not necessarily have as much power over my role as I did prior to you not knowing that information. So that can become a barrier. Then senior executives' reluctance to adapt. If they don't care about knowledge management, they're not going to put the effort and energy necessary. They're not going to allow the support needed to obviously push this thing. And so that reluctance obviously becomes a barrier to our knowledge sharing and creation. Okay. Also, if they don't want to start using, for instance, platforms like what do you call it? There was that platform, customer. Those platforms where we do all our interactions with our customers. But if they are not willing to bring in the new technologies where we can see or have all our interactions with our customers, then it also holds us back. Just another example speaking to the reluctance to adapt. Okay. And then finally, this is your recap on the key stuff on the last aspect of knowledge management. And we are done, ladies and gentlemen. We are through with the content for knowledge management.